All right, well, there are new accusations against the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Critics say that the federal agency is now retaliating by firing the agent who blew the whistle on the mission that allowed thousands of guns to get into the hands of Mexican drug lords. That's known as Fast and Furious. Some of those weapons, two of them, in fact, were found at the scene when Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was gunned down in December of last year. Now, the ATF whistleblower, Vince Cefalu, joins me now. Also joining us right now is Congressman Darrell Issa. He is the chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, who's led these hearings into this investigation of Operation Fast and Furious. Vince, it is good to have you with us this morning. Welcome.
Martha, thank you for having me on. More importantly, thank you for keeping the spotlight on.
Absolutely. So what happened? How did you get the word after 24 years of service at ATF that you were basically, your badge was being taken away and your gun was taken away as well, correct?
That's correct. And I was invited in by my second line supervisor with two other witnesses and apprised of that without any warning. When I challenged it to them, they said that they were doing just what the attorneys had told them to do, which is the standard protocol anymore for decisions within this bureau.
And what did they say was the reason that they were taking away your badge after 24 years and many years of exemplary reports of your work at ATF?
The basic underpinning was lack of candor, which is totally fabricated. And several other allegations regarding conduct that apparently occurred 4 or 5 years ago. I'm really not clear on all that. Yeah. The attorneys are reviewing it now.
Let's take a look at the ATF statement that they produced to FoxNews.com when they were asked that question about why you were being let go. It says ATF will not comment on specific ongoing personnel matters, and it is legal to use disciplinary actions to retaliate against employees, and ATF does not engage in such improper reprisals. But you, in fact, are the person who brought attention to the Fast and Furious program and to the fact that weapons were basically being put in the hands of people who gave them to cartels, and that two of those guns, in fact, were found at the scene of ATF border agent at his death, Brian Terry, correct?
That is correct. I was instrumental in fact, formulating the idea to stand up a website to expose the across-the-board mismanagement in ATF.
And what made you do that, Vince? What made you do that? What prompted that?
Outcries from hundreds of agents across the country when my original dispute started, and I realized that there was no mechanism in the government, any mechanisms that there were to communicate with senior management and report abuses were broken, and the leadership continually disregarded our reports, our allegations, no matter how well we substantiate them with documentation. They're well documented, by the way.
And, you know, as you know, the president and Eric Holder have basically said that they had no knowledge of this Fast and Furious program. We're still trying to figure out who authorized this program because, as you say, yourself and many, many agents on the ground thought that this was a crazy way to go about this and that it would put guns in the hands of the wrong people. You know, do you feel vindicated in the information that you put out there through your website?
I feel instrumental in doing my job. That's all I ever wanted to do. We don't cheat to win. We play by the rules. And when our leadership chose to not play by the rules, people stepped forward. Agent Dodson, Agent Gill, all the people who have come out front and put themselves in a position. So the agency had to identify the poster boy. Watch what happens to Vince Cefalu before you consider stepping forward.
What are you going to do now?
Again, my attorney is on it. I'm going to continue to state the truth. That's all I can do, is make sure that people are held accountable for their actions. We've exposed it. Eric Holder, Ken Melson, Billy Hoover, Mark Tate have all ignored documentary evidence of abuses and unethical conduct by Chief Counsel's office and our leadership.
And while they're reviewing that, you'll continue to get paid. Is that right?
Well, that's up to them, I guess. I'm not driving this ship. I tried to resolve this in-house informally years ago, and I've gotten hundreds of I don't knows and I don't recalls under oath, so it's pretty difficult to hit a moving target like that when the managers don't know what they were doing or why they did it.
Yeah. Any regrets?
No, none whatsoever.
All right, Vince.
I took an oath, and
Go ahead.
I took an oath, and I plan to uphold it to the end.
Vince Cefalu, thank you very much. We're going to stay on top of that story and figure out what happens with your job and whether or not this is connected in any way to you being one of the main whistleblowers in this Fast and Furious program. And now you're without your badge, without your gun, and we'll see what happens in the next segment of all of that. We thank you, Vince, for being with us. Let me turn our attention now. You bet. To Congressman Darrell Issa, who we have spoken to on many occasions about this Fast and Furious program as well. He warned the ATF, do not retaliate against this agent who we just spoke with. He also just returned from Mexico, where he met with government officials there to see what he could learn about this program on the other side of the border. Good to have you with us once again, Congressman. Your thoughts on what you just heard from Mr. Cefalu?
Well, thank you for covering this. And Vince, like many agents, are part of a chilling effect of, can they stop people from leaking, from telling, from posting a website? They may have done Vince a favor, because now he's very free to promote and push more openness and transparency by the very agents who want to come forward. Martha, I haven't had a single agent at any level in ATF, including all the way up to the acting director, Melson, who didn't want to talk to us. This really is not a story about the ATF where they seem to understand that this was wrong. It seems to be a story about justice and the cover-up of who really authorized this program, who actually thought it was a good idea. Because we've found very few agents that even a little bit called it a good idea. And you mentioned my trip to Mexico. In Mexico, we discovered that the ATF agents, the U.S. ATF agents, were completely in the dark. There was even a cover-up that prevented them, when they found a Fast and Furious weapon, from finding out where it was sold, and they disguised that. So when you hear that the Mexican officials were involved, nothing could be further from the truth. Even the U.S. agents were never told. Very interesting.
So one development in all of this is that Ken Melson, the head of ATF, will now testify about this, because I know you haven't gotten anywhere with Attorney General Eric Holder, even though you pressed him vociferously on this issue. So what do you expect to get in this hearing in front of the Senate by Ken Melson?
Well, the hearing, the actual coming forward is something we arranged back on finalized on the 20th. He is coming before our committee for an interview, an on-the-record interview, and the Senate, Senator Grassley will be there, and hopefully Senator Leahy will send staff also. One of the challenges has been, acting Director Melson has not refused to come forward. He's been limited by Justice wanting to make sure that Justice lawyers were in there and Justice lawyers were involved in these interviews. The normal protocol is you come in with your own attorney. In this case, Melson is not the target. We understand he was involved, he was read in, but it's very clear that U.S. attorneys and people at Justice had to make this program happen, had to bring the other assets to bear. And up until now, they just want to throw the ATF under the bus, when what we're finding is ATF agents were stopped from stopping the program, stopped from reporting it, stopped from even letting Congress know, until Dotson and a few other brave individuals came forward.
So what do you expect you'll hear from Ken Melson in terms of who authorized the program? Because that's been your bottom line in tracing this to justice and figuring out who signed off on it.
I think this is the first opportunity we're going to have where we have somebody who clearly knows who authorized it, who coordinated, who made it happen, and can name names. And whether it's Lanny Brewer at Justice or a number of others, I think he's going to be a treasure trove. More importantly, we'll finally ask the hard question, which is, can you think of any conceivable reason that Attorney General Holder, his claim that he wasn't read into this program, didn't know about it till he saw it in the news a week before he was before Congress. Can you think of any basis under which he didn't know or shouldn't have known? All
right. We'll be watching all this very closely to find out what you learn in that testimony. Darrell Issa, Congressman, thank you very much. Good to have you here, and our thanks once again to Mr. Cefalu for joining